Next up is Mysti Berry, who also has a degree in linguistics. And now at Salesforce, she is a Principal Content Strategist on the Technical Documentation and User Assistance team. And yesterday was her 7-year anniversary at Salesforce. She's been an amazing force at Salesforce. She's here to tell you about her first year as a leader.
Thank you, Andrea. How many people here are individual contributors? They don't have anyone reporting to them. Okay, cool. Now, how many? Oh, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Oh, there's going to be a quiz at the end. Oh, wow. How many of you have been accused of being a leader? If you haven't yet, you will. I promise. And hopefully, this talk will help you when you get there. So, does this work? Hold it close. If I hold it close. Okay, up on the gate. Okay. So, I was a technical writer for 20 years. And basically that meant, especially after I got good at it, someone would come to me and say, "Hey, Mysti, there's a pile of data on the floor and it makes no sense. Can you turn it into information?" Why, yes, I can. I have mighty word hammers. And I would take my mighty word hammers and I would beat that data into information. And I knew I was good at it because one time a developer, not at Salesforce, but a developer said, "You know, that thing we wrote, that code we built, it's really complicated. I don't know how you made it seem easy to use." And I thought, oh, I've arrived. And then one day at Salesforce, they came to me and said, "Hey, Mysti, instead of taking your big word hammers and beating data into information, we need you to figure out what's wrong with our information, if there is anything wrong, and we need you to figure out how to fix it, and then we need you to tell people how to do that fixing." And I looked at them and I said, "I has hammers." But luckily, my manager and all the other managers and all the people at Salesforce helped me out a lot and got me through that. And now I have more tools than word hammers. So I'm going to talk about that. The first lesson is, that's Charlie Chaplin from Modern Times. And a truck has just driven by and the truck dropped its flag. And he's, "Hey, guy, come back with this flag." And my first lesson was that being visibly out in front, instead of in my cube writing, is different. And as Charlie Chaplin discovered, it's scary different. There's a crowd behind him now who thinks he is leading their parade, their union parade. So it was really different. I went to UC Santa Cruz, which is a very, I think egalitarian is the right word, institution, and everyone's equal, and I grew up thinking everyone's equal and everyone has an equal voice, and I would torture my boss at least once a month with my very loud equal voice. But then when I was, let's see, it's a slide. When I was perceived as this big person out in front, suddenly I realized some people didn't feel safe talking to me. And I'm like, that's crazy. I should just get in that person's face and make them feel safe. And then I thought, well, what if Mark Benioff came up to me and tried to make me feel safe? That wouldn't feel safe. So I realized that I needed to think about where the other person was coming from when I worked with them, and I couldn't expect everything to be this ideal equality in my head. And I also discovered, much to my surprise, I'm helping about 30 writers do a very different, unusual project right now. And even just among those, and imagine the differentiation across 30 technical writers. I didn't think it would be that great. Well, it turns out a lot of people need to learn differently. They need to get instruction in different ways. And they need different kinds of help, whether that's a lot of help or no help or whatever. So the thing that I finally learned, and this is embarrassing for a technical communicator to realize, but it's really impossible to over-communicate. And I'm a technical writer, so I think if I write it down once and put in enough links and enough navigation, everyone will find it. And as you probably well know, human language is not really that way. We are busy people with lots of things on our plates, and you have to say things a lot of times, especially if you're telling someone to change. And if you're out front, you're probably telling someone that they should change. My next lesson was that it's going to hurt. It just hurts. I was a big word hammer carrying expert at a few things. And now I was a neophyte. I didn't know the right way to do things. I couldn't pretend that I did know all the answers. And if I did try to pretend, I was busted right away because I worked with really smart people. And one of the managers at work said, it's really an exercise in trust. I'm like, trust? I don't trust anybody. I'm a technical writer. It turns out I do trust people. I trust my husband. Sometimes I trust my cats. And when I extended that sense of trust to the people I was working with, they flowered and blossomed. And instead of frustrating them, I got out of their way. So that sense of trust that we don't talk about that much, I found to be really important. And sometimes when you make that transition from individual contributor to leader, other people don't exactly know what to do with you. This wasn't such a big problem at Salesforce because we're a pretty flat structure and people are very busy and they just get stuff done. But sometimes people are like, you're not a direct report, you're not a manager. How do I work with you? And you have to sort of own helping them figure out what you're supposed to do, or how they're supposed to work with you. And yet again, it's completely impossible to over-communicate as you're doing these things. And this was the big lesson. I sort of already knew it because I've been working with these people for a few years. Everyone is smarter than I am. And that's a really good thing because they're doing the work. I make a plan based on the things I know, and they say, parts 1 through 5 of your plan are beautiful, but part 6 will get us killed. I'm like, okay, tell me why, and we'll fix that. And that just works so much better than me telling everyone what to do and having to fix it doesn't scale. If you have to fix all the problems, that just doesn't scale. And it doesn't make anybody happy. Nobody likes to work in a place like that. So my team helped me figure that out too, really quickly. And whenever I ask for help, I say, this thing needs doing. Can someone do it? And I'm not exaggerating. There's 7 things that are being done right now, better than I could have possibly imagined they would be done, using better techniques. And because I said, can you do this thing? This is what it should look like. Like, oh, like you. And I've been staggered by my team. So when you get out of the way, they help. And have I said this thing about over-communicating? That's really it, except for the pop quiz. What is it impossible to do?
Over-communicate!